I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, typing out a story about my wife cheating on me, but here I am. Her name's Lisa, and we've been married for about 6 years now. We seemed solid, a good, normal couple. We had our ups and downs, sure, but nothing out of the ordinary. We bought a house a couple of years ago, a pretty nice one, and we were finally starting to settle into what I thought was a good life. I work in finance. She's in interior design and runs her own small firm. Things seemed fine until the signs started creeping in. Small things at first: missed calls, a little defensive when I asked about her whereabouts, but she always brushed it off. Said I was overreacting, that I was paranoid, that she'd never cheat on me, especially not with some builder or in our own house. But I had this gut feeling. Something wasn't right. It all came to a head the day I decided to go to the new model home for a quick look at some of the design options. We'd been talking about remodeling the master bedroom, and I wanted to check out some finishes and fixtures. She insisted on coming, but I told her I wanted to do it alone. I thought it'd be easier. She threw a fit, called me paranoid again, and finally I just gave in. So I went, thinking nothing of it. I was there for maybe an hour, looking at tiles, lighting, trying to figure out some ideas for the remodel. Then I decided to go into the master bedroom to get a closer look at the fixtures she'd been raving about earlier in the consultation. I was standing there flipping through some fabric swatches when I saw her. Lisa, sitting on the edge of the bed talking to the builder, Mark. It was almost surreal. Their faces were close, too close in a way that made my stomach turn. I was frozen just watching, trying to process what I was seeing. I couldn't hear much, but the way they looked at each other, the way her hand rested on his knee for a split second, it was unmistakable. This was no testing fixture quality, no innocent meeting. They were clearly into each other, and that's when I saw the phone. I caught her reaching into her purse, and I saw her slip a note or a piece of paper into her pocket. I didn't need to see the text to know what it was. I just knew. My heart sank. I thought I was about to throw up, honestly. It felt like the ground was shifting beneath me. I stayed silent, watching her smooth her hair, act like she was just fixing her blouse, and then she looked up and caught my eye. Her face froze for a second, then she threw on that bitchy smile she's so good at, the one that says she knows she's caught but she's not sorry at all. I backed out of the room slowly, trying to process everything. My mind was racing. How long had this been going on? Was this the first time? I was angry, definitely, but more than that, I felt betrayed. Not just by her, but by how good she was at lying, at hiding it from me. She'd been cheating on me with this builder during meetings we thought were just about testing fixtures, during our family time, during dinners, maybe even when I was asleep or at work. It made me sick. I didn't even want to confront her right then. I needed to think first. But I knew I had to face her, and when I did, I was going to get some answers. I took a few minutes outside in my car to gather myself. I could feel my hands trembling, and I was trying to stay calm, but I was pissed off. I mean, what the hell? I had trusted her, built this life with her, and now I find out she's been screwing around with this guy right under my nose. Or more accurately, right in the house we paid for, in the room where we'd planned our future. The irony hit me hard. She was out there, claiming she was testing fixtures, pretending to be interested in some kind of home improvement project, all while she was secretly meeting up with Mark, the builder, in our master bedroom. It was so blatant, so disgusting. I decided I had to confront her. I couldn't sit on this, not anymore. As I drove back home, my mind was spinning with questions. How long had she been doing this? Was it just a physical thing, or was there more? Did she even care about me at all? I knew Lisa. She's a bitch when she wants something. She can lie with a straight face, manipulate anyone. I was pretty sure she'd deny everything, even when I laid it all out in front of her. But I wanted to hear it from her, her own words, her stupid excuses. When I got back to the house, she was in the kitchen, acting like nothing had happened. She was wearing that same bitchy smile, making coffee, pretending to be innocent. I just looked at her for a second and then said, "We need to talk." Her eyes narrowed and she sighed like I was bothering her. "What now, Jack? Can't a girl have a little fun without you jumping to conclusions?" That was her typical bullshit, always justifying her actions, twisting everything around so she's the victim. I didn't hold back. I told her I saw her in the model home, saw her with Mark in the master bedroom, and that I knew she's been cheating on me. Her reaction was priceless. She rolled her eyes, scoffed, and threw out more lies. You're being paranoid, it's none of your business. We were just talking about fixtures, testing some stuff, that's all. She kept insisting her meetings with Mark were just business, that I was overreacting, that I was jealous. I wanted to explode. How could she be so brazen? But I kept my cool, just stared at her and said, I know the truth. I saw everything. You've been lying for months. That's when she snapped. Her voice turned bitchy and sharp. Oh, so now I'm a cheat? Please, Jack. You're just insecure, always paranoid about everything. I'm not doing anything wrong. You're crazy and you're just jealous because I'm more successful than you. And honestly, I don't need to explain myself to you. Her words stung. I felt a mix of anger and heartbreak. I never thought she'd be capable of lying so easily, so coldly. And she was calling me insecure. That was rich. The woman who's been sneaking around, lying to my face, calling me crazy. That was the moment I realized I was dealing with a real bitch. I told her I wanted her out of the house. I couldn't stand to look at her anymore, not after what I saw. She laughed, that nasty little laugh she's so good at, and said she wasn't going anywhere, that she was entitled to her affair if she wanted it. I felt the rage boiling up inside me. I wanted to scream, to shake her, but I just walked out of the room. I needed space, needed to think about what my next move was going to be. Deep down, I knew I couldn't fix this, not with her. She didn't even try to deny it anymore. She just kept throwing her manipulative bullshit. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything. The moment I saw her in the model home, her sneaky little texts, the way she lied so easily, like I was some idiot who wouldn't notice. It made me feel sick. I started questioning everything about our marriage, about my own judgment. Was I blind? Did I miss signs? I'd always thought Lisa was ambitious and a little bitchy, but I never thought she'd cheat on me. Never thought she'd do it in our own house, right under my nose. Now I was awake all night, hurting, furious, feeling betrayed in a way never had before. It was like the ground had shifted beneath me, and I was left standing there trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do next. The next morning was even worse than the night before. I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck, still furious, still hurt. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I let her get away with this. I mean, she was so good at lying, at acting like she was the innocent victim. I started digging through my mind for every little thing that might have been a warning sign, things I ignored, dismissed, or rationalized. Honestly, looking back, I saw the clues everywhere, but I just didn't want to see them. Hell, I was still trying to convince myself maybe I was overreacting, maybe it was all just a misunderstanding. But I knew better now. No more denial. This was real, and it was as bad as it felt. My gut told me I had to do something about it fast. I couldn't just sit around and let her screw around in our house, in our bed, and then expect me to brush it off like nothing happened. I decided I needed proof, solid proof that I could confront her with, that I could show the world if I needed to. I wasn't about to let her manipulate her way out of this one, so I started looking through her phone, her emails, anything I could get my hands on. I was determined to find more evidence, to catch her in another lie if I could. That's when I found the messages. I knew I shouldn't have looked, but I couldn't help myself. She'd been talking to Mark, all right, texting late into the night, meeting up in secret. There were explicit texts, stuff that made my stomach turn, talking about sex, comparing notes, planning their next test fixture, meeting in our house. I couldn't believe it. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest all over again. She'd been lying to my face, smiling, pretending everything was fine, while she was lying naked in bed with another man, right in our house. I printed out the messages, took screenshots, and then sat there staring at them, trying to make sense of the world I thought I knew. How could she be so cold, so fucking manipulative? I've never felt so humiliated and angry in my life. It was like my entire foundation was crumbling. I wanted to confront her right then, but I knew I needed to approach this carefully. I couldn't just lose it, I had to plan my next move. So I kept the evidence hidden, waiting for the right moment. Part of me was hoping she would slip up again, do something stupid, and I'd have even more proof. That afternoon, I started mapping out what I was going to say. I knew I had to catch her off guard. I wasn't going to let her lie her way out of this again. I wanted her to admit everything, to look me in the eyes and tell me what I already knew was true. I also knew I had to be prepared for her bitchy, aggressive attitude. She loved twisting everything around, making herself the victim. That's her game. I had to stay calm, stay focused, and hold my ground, because I wasn't just mad, I was hurt. Deep down, I felt like I'd lost the woman I thought I knew, and I couldn't just brush this off anymore. I had to face the truth, no matter how hard it was. I also started thinking about the future. Could I forgive her? Would I want to stay and work through this mess? Or was this the end of us? I didn't have answers yet, only a very heavy feeling that my life was about to change forever. The betrayal cut deep, but I knew I had to be strong, mainly for myself, because I wasn't sure she'd give me any support after what she did. I kept replaying her sneaky smile, the way she brushed off everything, her lies, her excuses. That bitchy attitude she always had when she was hiding something was now intensified. I could see it in her eyes. She thought she'd gotten away with it, that she'd just lie her way out of this. But I wasn't going to let her. Not anymore. By evening, I knew I couldn't hold back anymore. The weight of everything was crushing me, and I realized I had to confront her again, this time with the evidence. I waited until she was in the kitchen, pretending to be busy, acting like she hadn't just lied to my face. I didn't want to waste any more time tiptoeing around her bullshit. I pulled out the printed messages, laid them on the table where she'd see them, and looked her straight in the eye. She immediately saw the stack of papers, and her face twisted into that familiar bitchy sneer. "What's this?" she asked, voice dripping with false innocence. I could see her trying to maintain that manipulative calm, but I was beyond caring. I pushed the papers toward her and said, "Tell me what this is, Lisa. Tell me what I already know. You've been screwing Mark, haven't you?" For a second she just stared, mouth slightly open, as if she was surprised I'd found her out so clearly. Then she scoffed and rolled her eyes, flipping her hair. "Oh, please," she spat. "That's just some stupid gossip. You're blowing things out of proportion. Those aren't even serious. You're so insecure, Jack. You always think the worst." The lies, the denial, God, she was good at it. I could feel the fury rising in me again. I wasn't going to let her dismiss this with her typical BS. "I saw the texts," I said firmly. "Explicit stuff, Lisa. You're not just testing fixtures. You're screwing around in our bed, right in our house. And you think I'm just supposed to believe your bullshit?" My voice was strained, trembling with a mixture of anger and heartbreak. She looked at me for a long moment, then suddenly her tone turned bitter and snippy. "Look, Jack," she said, crossing her arms. "You're just jealous because I'm better at my job and I'm more successful. Mark's just a contractor, a guy who's good at his job. We're not doing anything serious. You're overreacting because you're insecure, remember. You always think I'm cheating, but I'm not. You just don't trust me, and maybe you're right. I guess I should just find someone who's not so paranoid all the time." That's when I really lost it. I'd had enough of her bullshit. "You're not fooling anyone anymore," I said, voice low but deadly. "I know exactly what you've been doing. I know about the meetings, the texts, the sneaking around, and I want you out of my house. I don't want to see your face again until you figure out what you've done." She stared back at me, her eyes flashing with that same bitchy attitude. "Oh, so now you're kicking me out. That's real mature, Jack. You're just mad because I don't want to stay with a cheating bastard like you. You think you're so high and mighty, but you're just a jealous little man who can't handle a real woman." Her words cut through me like a knife, but I kept my composure. I told her she had until the end of the week to leave. I didn't want her in my house anymore. I'd rented a small apartment nearby, and I was planning to move out as soon as I could get everything packed. I didn't want her to win. I didn't want her to believe she could manipulate her way out of this. I was done. Completely done with her lies, her attitude, her betrayal. I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness, like I was finally free from her grip, but also shattered inside. After she stormed off, I just sat in the living room staring at the mess of our life, a life I'd thought was perfect. The betrayal hit me hard, but I knew I'd survive. Somehow. I kept thinking about what I'd do next, how I'd rebuild after this. And I kept telling myself, no matter how much it hurt now, I'd be better off without her. Still, I couldn't help but feel a gnawing sadness, a sense that I'd lost not just my wife, but a part of myself I'd never get back. The days that followed were a blur of packing, planning and trying to come to terms with everything. I moved out of the house I'd shared with Lisa into that small apartment I'd rented. It felt surreal, like I was watching my life from outside myself, like I'd been living a lie all along. The betrayal kept echoing in my mind, the image of her in the master bedroom with Mark, the texts, her lies. I kept wondering how I missed it, how I never saw the signs. I realized I was blind in a way I'd never been before. Trust, once broken like this, isn't something you just fix overnight. It's shattered into a million pieces. In the first few days after I left, Lisa kept trying to reach me, calling, texting, even showing up at the apartment, acting like she was trying to talk things out. She was her usual bitchy self, accusing me of overreacting, calling me insecure, trying to guilt-trip me into taking her back. She told me she was sorry, but I knew it was just her manipulation. Sorry for what? For getting caught, for losing control. She didn't seem sorry at all, just angry that I found out and that I was leaving her. Honestly, part of me wanted to scream at her, tell her how much I hated her, how disgusting I thought she was, but I stayed quiet. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction. I started seeing a therapist, trying to process everything. The worst part wasn't just the betrayal, it was the emptiness I felt inside. I trusted her with everything and she threw it all away. I felt stupid, naive even. I kept asking myself how I could have been so blind, so accepting of her lies, her manipulations. I was angry at her, yes, but I was also angry at myself for not seeing the warning signs sooner. I kept telling myself I deserved better, that I'd be fine without her, but it didn't help the ache in my chest. Meanwhile, I also started looking into legal options. I wasn't sure if I wanted to divorce her yet, but I knew I needed to protect myself financially. I hired a lawyer just to get advice. The thought of ending the marriage was painful, but I also felt a strange sense of relief. I was finally freeing myself from the chaos she brought into my life. I couldn't imagine ever trusting her again, not after what she did. Every time I saw her face in my mind, I felt a mixture of anger, sadness, and disgust. How could she do this? How could she lie so easily, so coldly? I also saw some of her friends, people I'd known for years, and their reactions surprised me. Some said I was better off without her. Others told me she'd always been ambitious, a little bitchy, but that I shouldn't give up on her so quickly. That hurt more than I expected. Suddenly, I felt like I was the bad guy for leaving her. But the truth was, I wasn't the one betraying vows, sneaking around, or lying to her husband. She was. And I knew I couldn't live with that anymore. As the weeks went by, I started reclaiming my life piece by piece. I got a new job, threw myself into work, and tried to focus on the future instead of dwelling on the past. I won't lie, it's been hard. There are nights I lie awake replaying everything, feeling the sting of the betrayal all over again. But I also feel a sense of clarity. I realize now how important it is to trust your instincts, to pay attention to the signs, and never ignore that little voice that says something's wrong. Lisa's gone, but her shadow still lingers. Every time I think about her, I get mad all over again. But I also know that I'll get through this. I have to. I've learned the hard way that some people are just not worth the pain, no matter how much you love them. And the biggest lesson, never let yourself be blind to the truth. Because once someone crosses that line, there's no going back. You just have to pick up the pieces and move on. Now, looking back, I realize that the whole experience has changed me, maybe permanently. I'm more skeptical, more guarded. I've learned that trust is fragile and that sometimes what you don't see can hurt you the most. The betrayal cut deep, but it also forced me to reevaluate what I want out of life. I used to think I was happy, that I had everything I needed: marriage, a house, a future. Turns out I was living a lie. The thing is, I don't blame myself entirely. I often wonder what I could have done differently, but in reality, I know I was blind to her manipulations. Lisa was always good at hiding her true intentions, at making herself seem like the victim. That bitchy attitude, her constant lies, it was all part of her game. But I also know I won't let her define me. I'm stronger now, even if I feel broken some days. I've started rebuilding my life from scratch, piece by piece. I've become more aware of what I deserve: respect, honesty, loyalty. Things I used to take for granted. And honestly, I don't regret leaving her. Not anymore. She cheated, lied, and manipulated her way into my life and then tore it apart. I deserve better than that. I deserve someone who respects me, who values honesty. I've come to accept that some betrayals can't be forgiven, and that's okay. Sometimes. The best thing you can do is walk away and start fresh. I've also learned to trust my instincts more. That little voice that tells you something's wrong, it's usually right. Ignoring it only leads to heartbreak. Now I listen to myself more carefully. I pay attention to subtle signs, even if it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. Because in the end, your own happiness and peace of mind are what matter most. To anyone reading this who might be in a similar situation, just know you're not alone. Betrayal hurts like hell, but it also teaches you who you really are. It's okay to feel lost for a while, to grieve what you thought was real, but don't let it define you. You're stronger than you think. You'll survive, and someday you'll look back and realize that a better life was waiting for you all along. Sometimes losing someone you loved is the only way to find yourself again. And that's okay. Because in the end, you're the only person who truly has to live with your choices. Make sure they're the right ones.